Hey y'all, it's Alexis from Ask Alexis, and we have a very special guest today. This is Jacquelin Taylor. And Jacquelin is a book editor, just so you know. She edits, and we will be putting her contact information in the description down below. Make sure that you like and subscribe and go. You might as well just share the video. You know, we're going to be talking about good stuff. So just share it now. My screenshot went away. But the reason, Jacquelin, welcome. Before
Thank
we
you.
get into the nitty gritty. Welcome to the comfy couch. Thank you for being willing to be here.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, Jacquelin is here, and the reason I'm thanking Jacquelin, she's here because someone on social media land, who we're not going to bring into this discussion because we don't have their permission, made a post that said, "Hey, if you're white, don't use African American vernacular English," and then left a link to a Reddit post with a whole bunch of things that potentially could be or could not be African American vernacular English. And the list was made by a white person. And Jacquelin responded. And remember, y'all, I said this is social media world where this happened. So Jacquelin responded and the world pounced. um,
Pretty much.
So we're here to discuss that, to get to some clarity and some common ground. And I appreciate Jacquelin's graciousness to be vulnerable and actively authentic in this discussion, because you know we cannot get to our shared future if we just don't accept and reveal what is, and then do the work to heal it. Um, we established a safe space just like we talked about last week before we got on the call. So we discussed the parameters of how we'll have the conversation. We talked about if there were ground rules that each of us felt comfortable with. And we told each other about things in our personality that have maybe presented challenges before, just so you're aware that, hey, this is a thing I do. It's not about you. And so with all that being said, I'm going to do two things in this moment. I'm going to read the Jacqueline's response, and then I'm going to show y'all my unicorn pajamas because y'all know I wear pajamas on the comfy couch. And look, it's a unicorn, y'all. It's got a head and it has a tail. You can't really see it that good, but it's a tail back there. And so I felt like these were appropriate because Jacqueline is the unicorn for being willing to be here and talk about this subject.
Thank you.
So, and we also brought down Harmony Bear. See that? That's the harmony right there. Let me get it a little bit closer. There we go. And Tender Heart. They're going to guide us through this conversation. So Jacqueline, I'll read what the response is, and then I will give you the opportunity to speak for yourself.
Okay.
So it says, okay, first of all, know that I love and do support you in most of what you say, person who posted. Now I disagree with this whole thing, and hear me out before you argue. First of all, you used Reddit. I do not believe everything Reddit says. Reddit is full of crap and shouldn't be taken seriously. It is mainly used by internet trolls and such. There is some good in it, but when it comes to this stuff, I wouldn't go near it on that site. Secondly, this is why I don't agree with a lot of the racism/white privilege stuff. I agree and know that there is racism and there is white privilege, but this is taking it too far. Not only is the person writing this non-Black, but most of the people who have spoken out and supported the fight against racism and white privilege are whites. If you really take a look into the people rising up, only a handful of them are actual Blacks. The majority of them are whites with the exclamation point. Sorry, I don't feel like I got explained.
Oh, that's fine.
We need to listen to Black voices, ones who actually know what their race feels is an insult and what they don't think is an insult. I have had Black friends that they have never said anything against me saying any of those words. Plus, a lot of those words were created by white people. Think about it. Think about what the kids, white kids or kids of other races who aren't Black, who grew up in Black neighborhoods and grew up hearing and saying those words. You're basically telling them not to be who they are just because they are a certain color. Racism goes both ways in my mind. Not only do we have racism toward Blacks and other races, but now with all this hate towards whites, we're starting to see racism towards them as well. What we need to do is stop victimizing people, stop blaming. We need to grow and stop crying about being hurt and instead start forgiving. All righty. So I'm going to take a few deep breaths and then Jacqueline, you go ahead and you respond first.
Okay, so I actually have been like, I don't know how you would explain it, like digging down deep, finding out why, I say, because this is not the first time this has happened.
Okay. And just so you don't know, this was about 3 weeks ago. So there has been time since this was posted to reflect and to do things. So I just want to give a point of reference because you have been doing things since then.
Yeah, but this is not the first time that this has happened. So it happened like a few years ago as well. And ever since, I have been wondering, where does this come from? Why do I feel this way, about some stuff? And I finally figured out why. And as I messaged you about it, I said that I had a big epiphany and it would bring a really good topic to the table, which is unconscious learning.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
More about unconscious learning.
Yeah, because I was talking with my mom. My mom, she is part Italian. So she was in school like in the 50s and stuff. And so she saw a lot of racism on her side as well, which is why she cannot stand the the one song by Cardi B, WAP.
Oh, I can understand. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the same word, but she can't stand hearing that. She's like,
Italian racial slur.
Yeah, it's the Italian racial slur. And she's like, I can't stand why I can't understand why she's using that word, but it's not actually the word. But yeah, so I knew that there was racism and stuff, but I also had family from the South, especially Oklahoma, very, very backwoods Oklahoma. My grandparents on my dad's side, they came to where I live right now. They came here during the Dust Bowl. Really interesting was talking to my mom, and she's like, and I was telling her what I felt, what was going on, how I was feeling and stuff, and how I looked at race and stuff growing up. And she's like, I don't know where you got that from. Because my dad sort of had some stuff from the South.
So when you say some stuff, like some racist beliefs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he sort of had that, but I didn't ever really hear it or see it. Once in a great while, when he was with other people, similar people with his family or something, he would just go into it. But then at home, he wouldn't be that way. But I forgot one aspect of my family, and it was on my mom's side, but it was her, she calls him her dad, but it was her stepdad. And he was crude, he was abusive, stuff like that. And it was like, it was interesting being around him. he didn't have a filter. so being around him was interesting, but I was around him all the time. And my grandma was not racist. She did not say anything because she knew, because she was half Italian. So she knew the whole racist stuff, and she didn't believe in that, but
What
my
oppression
grandpa
felt
did.
like.
Huh?
She knew what oppression felt like, so she didn't oppress actively.
Yes, definitely. But my grandpa, like I said, he was crude. He was very white. And I didn't think about it at the time until I was talking with my mom, and I was doing something, and it was like a light bulb went on. And I was like, oh my goodness, it was grandpa. It wasn't the people I thought had influenced me. It was him unconsciously influencing me because I had been around him so much, and I had heard what he would say. And he would say bad things about any type of race, not just the Black community.
He was just a run of the mill bigot.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, he was crude, he was cruel, you name it, he was it. and so I was like, oh my goodness. And see, at the time, I had unconsciously also looked up to him. I knew he was bad. I knew he wasn't the greatest grandpa and stuff. But because I wasn't with my other grandparents, I had only his influence.
Was he the more powerful person in your household?
Sort of. My dad was very quiet. And everything. My grandpa, he would get into rages and stuff. So yeah, he was pretty forceful and stuff. So I mean, there were reasons why I wasn't allowed to stay alone with him and stuff like that. So
okay,
you get a picture.
I'm just appropriate. So curiosity, but respect for boundaries is the thoughts that's going on in my mind. Just just bringing myself back present.
Yeah.
So when I teach anti-racism, we have it's a 12-week course, and we talk about implicit bias. And I heard you describe the process in which you developed your implicit bias was the unconscious learning that you got because you were raised by an older generation.
Yeah.
But I would like to say that it confirms it dispels actually some people's belief that like racism is a thing of the past, because your grandparents could raise you today. Like they're like, I don't know how old they are or if they are still with us.
My dad passed away about 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago. My mom's still alive.
And so they raised you, those beliefs were around your house, but you also said that your other grandparents, or like on your other side, there was some stuff said like in front of people, but it was more like social. It wasn't actively practiced in the household, but that still is a confirmation of those beliefs. Like if it's just subconscious programming.
Yeah.
But they were here, 4 years ago. That consciousness that was telling you, that was a part of how you're shaping, the world was shaped for you, was still here today in this lived experience. So racism and racist beliefs are still affecting this today, like, because your grandfather also worked somewhere, right?
Which one? The one from the South, or
the one with the more racist beliefs, the bigot?
Oh, well, yeah, he sort of worked. I'm not too sure where he worked. He He actually he was in the military, but he lied about a lot of stuff. So we found out after he died that he lied about a lot of stuff. So we're not too sure. He even lied about his age and stuff. So we're not too sure what he was about. So
he was just a really interesting person. Interesting in a not so pleasant way, it sounds like.
That's pretty much what my mom calls him. An interesting person.
So there were some things that like I had responses and reactions, but so your mother, and this is not, I'm not criticizing her, but she would be what we classify as a complicit racist rather than an overt racist.
Okay, what's the difference?
So the difference is, so when I speak of racism, please know that my definition is systemic oppression.
Okay.
So it has to do with the way our society is set up with a preference or preferential treatment for white bodies as a collective body. I'm not speaking, I don't mean every single white body had that preferential treatment, but I feel like the way our society is set up, the ones who didn't, they were not recipients of the current social contract.
Okay, I see.
So like there's resentment that's there because they didn't get the same privileges that other people get, which is the same resentment, a similar resentment that Black bodies who aren't getting this privilege feel. The difference is there's been years of oppression because of that resentment.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like you can't compare African American like slavery,
right,
with the Irish.
Yeah, it's not the same at all.
No.
Indentured servitude and enslavement are different things. And the Irish were indentured servants. They were not enslaved. But now that doesn't mean that people who had those contracts didn't do shady stuff.
True.
But it was not legally mandated that they were enslaved. They were indentured servants.
Yeah.
And that is a difference for so let me answer the first question before we delve into that.
Okay.
The difference between a complicit racist and an overt racist is your mother stayed married to him. Your mother knew he was a racist and that was her guy. She didn't participate, but she also didn't speak out against when he was being.
Oh, you mean my grandmother, not my mom.
So I don't know because you interchange the labels.
I know. It's so confusing.
So it's hard for me. I don't know what's the right language for me to use, but the person who was married to the bigot.
Yeah.
Can we just make up names for them?
Sure.
Can the bigot be like Ralph?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And can it be like Eleanor and Ralph?
Yeah.
Okay. So Eleanor, it would have been complicit to Ralph's behaviors. If Ralph did something to punish someone just simply because he didn't like them because they were a different ethnicity or race than him, and she protected him, that's complicit. Because though you didn't do the act, you are aware of the outcome of the act, and you don't do anything to prevent it.
Okay, I see.
You don't speak out. You think it's wrong, but you let it slide. You're complicit and let it slide because it makes your life more comfortable.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's what my grandma did, but probably more in public, but in private, she was more vocal about it because she was one of those people. She was an Italian, so Italians, we're very loud, we're very boisterous.
Well, Black people are a passionate culture as well. And I have Italian friends who are some of my favorites. It's with the same intensity. I didn't even know that, I have so many Italian friends that before I started educating myself around anti-Black sentiment, I didn't realize there was a divide between Blacks and Italians in some regard.
Really?
I have 3 Italian mommies, because Italians are overbearing.
Well, that's funny because my mom
stereotype, but
Yeah, but that's interesting because my mom, when she was in high school, she had black friends. She was an Italian, and she had this whole group, and they actually helped her. If I remember correctly, they actually helped her. This one group helped her to keep her from this gang that was in the school that would target the white people, white folks and stuff. So it was very interesting.
That's why I always speak to racism, the ism aspect of it is from a systemic approach as opposed to like individual to individual. Because individual to
Mhm.
individual, people dynamics play out.
Yeah.
People exert power over
Hmm.
frequently or stand with frequently. That happens in dynamics when you start beginning to care about people. I
Yeah.
believe that the solution to this is changing the way we as a country other, even when
Yeah.
there's hurt. But we got to address some of the things that were said. We got to I'm being reminded by my nervous system to make sure that I make sure the audience knows some of the stuff. Um, so in this post, I do agree with you that Reddit is not a credible source for where you get your anti-racism education from. Some of those words on the list I would not consider to be African American vernacular English. However, I do believe that it is on white people to educate white people as they become educated, but that's
Yeah.
more in a sphere of influence, and then direct them toward anti-racist educators and pay them, because it is important.
Actual educators, not Reddit
Yes,
educators.
um, especially since I want to know where he got the person who posted the list. What's your source for this list?
Yeah.
It's one thing if you did you make this list up? Because if you made this list up, you need to get your training redone.
Yes.
If you are
Definitely.
sharing a list of a anti-racist educator who is a person of color, then you need to give them credit and cite them.
Hmm.
But okay, so I agree with that. Um, Now the racism and white privilege stuff. So
I was actually going to ask you about this and see what you thought about it.
So for me, while I understand that social media is a platform where people just express their feelings without necessarily having to qualify them,
Yeah.
when you are giving your opinion and your opinion disagrees with mine, because I'm still a human, I
Yes.
immediately would want you to qualify where you got this opinion. And if your opinion is just how you feel, then for me, because this subject matter speaks to my lived experience, please stop spouting your unvalidated, qualified opinion. What did you do to qualify this opinion? Or you just saying your feelings and you might be soaking others to feel this way, and nobody's doing the work to actually research and be educated on the subject. They just spout unqualified opinions that could have real implications on my lived experience. So it's a
Yeah.
privilege to be able to just do that without being connected to the potential impact.
I see. Yeah.
So because I'm an anti, where I'm coming from with that, because I'm an anti-racism educator, oftentimes when I had this discussion, someone will give me their feeling as a counterpoint to a fact I just labeled. And it's kind of like, well,
Hmm.
what makes you think you're qualified to refute my facts? What have in
Definitely.
your mind when you think of things that qualify people?
Hmm.
But some of that is that internalized learning that you were talking about. Our
Yeah.
society is set up. So I may be triggering you because like just because of my brown skin, and then that tells your brain without you thinking about it
Hmm.
that your opinion's more valid,
Yeah.
even
I
though
can see
I
that.
have studied the subject.
Yeah.
Like,
I
why
can.
are you challenging my opinion when yours is an unqualified one?
Yeah, I can see how that goes, and see, that's the one thing was that I am opinionated. I take after my mom, big time, and so I'm very opinionated. And I try not to, but I do speak out my opinions, and I will put my foot in my mouth because of them. But that also helps me learn,
Yeah.
because I've learned how to speak to other people. I've learned what not to say, what to say. Also, I learn more about different sides to a picture as well.
So yes, that is an effect
Hmm.
of, and this is just my coaching hat coming on, just letting you know.
Hmm.
So that is an effect of being opinionated. You do get to learn by other people's reactions.
Hmm.
But if you lead with curiosity, you're not stating your feelings as facts. And then people respond, you're learning in people's defensive state instead of in people's
Definitely.
open and connected state.
Yeah. So I shouldn't have posted what did. What I should have done was ask questions instead.
Yes. Well,
Like maybe I should have asked, is this truly what African American vernacular is?
right. So you could have been like, I'm not, so you did open by like saying, I love you and I support you to that person, but that person was not the only person in audience,
Yeah.
right? So you only
Yeah.
respected her. So it didn't make me feel more comfortable reading it.
Yeah, and
And
that's one thing you forget about social media is that there's other people.
yeah, and though I don't practice judgment as a mental activity, other
Hmm.
people are reading it to judge you.
That's true. Yeah.
So it says, so to me, I want to know, what was your intention for giving your opinion?
My intention.
Yes, like, so you say, so some, I want, did you have a reason for sharing your opinion? What did you want to do by sharing it? What did you hope that opinion would solve or accomplish?
Well, I guess I don't know what happened, but I was just going to go with do not go with Reddit. That was all I was going to say at first, but then I guess I was holding a lot in. I don't know why, but I guess because I don't talk about my emotions. I don't talk about how I'm feeling and stuff. And so sometimes in a post like that, I will just burst. And that's what happened. And you saw that at the very end. It wasn't even someone commented that it wasn't even the same topic anymore. I I just went on a little rampage.
So, in actively authentic allyship, we also teach that because we live in a racist society, a
Hmm.
society set up on power, privilege, and dominance,
Hmm.
and the dominant culture is the white culture, it requires a greater level of emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, so your human response of like suppressing emotion and then just having a word dump vomit, that every shade of human does that.
I know that.
I'm not saying every single human, but that is not a shade of human specific. Like
It's
there's no
not
correlation
rare.
that all humans do that.
Yeah.
But there are other implications simply because of the societal structure we live in. And if you want a shared and inclusive future, you have to be conscious of doing your share of the mental labor of thinking about race in this type of society.
Yeah.
So I have a question though. Why were you, so you think it was it just your unconscious bias from your program that made you so resentful to this list?
Probably. I'm not too sure because I actually never used the words on the list itself. Like, it's strange. Like, I actually looked up an actual list of African American vernacular words. I never used any of them.
So let me tell you what it's speaking to though, what happens. So when white people want to get more black friends, and we have things that are like, friends, you start, oh, you saying stuff. it is weird. Like all of a sudden, if you just start trying to sound like have my accent, my drawl, you say hey boo, because I say hey boo. It's like, but you don't talk like that. Why are you doing this? It's like it is strange.
True.
Like why are you, we could just be friends and be different. Why do you feel the need to be doing saying what I say? It's awkward. And then
Yeah.
because some people who the overt racists in a non-overt racist society, people who are actively hold racist beliefs consciously,
Hmm.
they say stuff like uh, they use that language when they're being condescending or derogatory.
I have
So
seen that.
there's unpleasant connotation that can just come. And it's kind of like, well, maybe y'all don't do it at all because you got to take care of your problem. And you won't take care of your problem, so don't come trying to be extra friendly with me. Because the thing that I don't think white people who haven't been doing the work to decolonize their mind realize is and because we have learned as Black people how to code switch and make white bodies feel comfortable for
True. Yeah.
survival, y'all aren't aware about the deep ingrained generational lack of trust.
Hmm. Yeah, I never really thought of that, you know. I mean, it's hard to think about that because, you know, I mean, for me, for instance, I don't trust everyone, but I do come off as friendly to everyone. And so to have someone not trust me, that's a little strange, you know. So,
So yes, I understand. So I'm a person
mhm,
that I lead with kindness. When people aren't kind back or when people are off put by it, it alarms my nervous system. Like what kind of person are you that you don't like the way that I am treated, you know. Um,
yeah.
so I can understand as a human that being alarming, but for centuries,
Hmm.
the American societal way has been not to have consequence for white people when they harm Black people. And
True.
it has only been decreasingly like it's been the permissibility of that is only decreased, not it
Hmm.
been erased.
Yeah,
So
it seems like there's like a step process or something. Like first you had the Civil War that ended slavery, and then you had the civil rights movement.
you know that those were centuries apart, right?
Yeah,
That
I
was like
know.
18 and 19.
Yeah,
But they're not
I've been
centuries.
looking.
It's
Yeah,
like
I've been looking, and I was like, it's
1963 and
crazy.
1963. 100 years. Like that's your
Yeah.
grandpa's whole life span.
Mm-hmm.
It may be longer because not a lot of people live to 100.
No.
Um,
No.
so there's a natural skepticism to your motives that even that. So you talk about that unconscious learning. We
Mm-hmm.
have consciously learned and unconsciously learned both that you're not safe to me.
Yeah.
I have to go through a lot to see if you're a safe person. But also, safety for me means you're a co conspirator in dismantling systemic oppression
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot love me and let the government oppress me.
Yeah.
You can, and I'm not, and I don't mean to make it I want to be very clear. I am in my sovereignty. I am living my life the way that I want to live it. I do not experience racism on a day, like overt racism on a daily basis. But I
Which is
have
good.
had employment discrimination because of it. I have had person to person discrimination because of it. I have had mean things said. My grandfather went to prison because of it. My mother had medical discrimination, as did my grandmother, and my grandmother died because of it. There was a
Mm.
malpractice suit. Like there is a lot of history. Like your grandpa could be racist, and mine could be harmed by racists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I guess you could say that I can't, it's not similar. It's not anything similar. But when I was adopted, my mom, I'm part Cherokee. And so the Cherokee Nation doesn't kind of discriminates against white, totally white people adopting their
They have
people.
historical reason for that. The
Yeah.
American way was to rip their babies from them, cut their hair, change their names, erase
Yeah.
their culture, and then and call it assimilation school.
Yeah. And so the mom that I call my mom, she had a chief or something. She's part Cherokee herself, but she had to make sure because we're not blood related. Long story. But she had to make sure that she had documentation that she was like, I don't know, part of the tribe or something. I can't really remember. So they could adopt me. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to adopt me.
I I am not
So
sure how I feel about that policy. And I understand its reasoning and rationale is like, I don't know whether I agree or disagree. I would have to really go inward and see.
well, and also like I've seen like that one little girl that was on TV. She was crying and stuff. She was getting taken away because she was part Native American, and they took her away from her. I think it was her foster family. It was a foster to adopt or something. They took her away because they didn't have any Native American in them. And so they took her away from a very nice family who loved her. They had her for a couple of years, I think. It's crazy.
So those are the situations that to me are, so the fact that I don't know how I feel, because I can see it from that perspective, but I can also see it from, well, was it in that child's better interest to, like, how was she being raised? Was she being raised to know her culture and know that that is a part of her culture and practice, and because, or was she being raised in the programming that what is her is bad?
Yeah. No, I see that. And that's like with my mom, she said that she showed that she was part Cherokee. I don't know if she's registered. I can't remember, but she's part Cherokee, and they have an Indian chief in their family and stuff, but they had to literally get documentation about it. So
Well,
that, and see, the thing is that I'm a Heinz 57. I am like the whole English coast, it's like that. And then I'm only like 1/3 Cherokee, but apparently 1/3 Cherokee, or not 1/3, like 1/8 matters to them. And so it's crazy.
so yes, that matters. Blood.
It does matter. It actually, I've learned so much doing my DNA testing, like how much that mattered to me. I never knew how much that mattered to me until I did it.
Until you know. So
Yeah.
I have my opinions, but so I believe that I practice ancestral veneration.
I
What
I
that
think
means
I've
is
heard of that.
I keep an ancestor altar. I commune with the
Okay.
consciousness that I consider to be them.
Okay.
I have, according to my religious practices, I have things that I do with and I have experienced intergenerational somatic trauma healing. What that means is I have experienced release of emotions in my body that were not my emotions, that were some from their lived experience.
So it's kind of like because I'm Christian, I was raised in church and stuff. We have a thing about generational curses. And we always, we talk about generational curses, how to break them and stuff. We don't do it how you do it, but it's, you know, that's kind of similar to it. Like
It's
the
no ancestral. That's it. That is a practice of it, a form of it. It may not be the same actual practice, but it is
yeah,
a form of it because those things. That's it. That's the trauma. Intergenerational trauma is a generational curse. How
yeah.
Christians say it gets there. That there's difference in that, but the field of epigenetics, which is the study of the epigenome. What the epigenome is like the instructions for what your DNA needs to do in order to the instructions for the cell. So like your DNA tells the cell what kind of cell, like if it helps it become that kind of cell. The
Hmm.
epigenetics is like the instructions for what kind of cell it's supposed to become.
Okay.
That is affected by your lived experience. And the
Okay.
egg that made you was present inside your grandmother's womb via your mother.
Hmm.
So the lived experience of your grandmother from the time she was pregnant was affecting you.
Okay.
And then that was true for your mother when she was in her grandmother's womb, and so on and so back. So
Hmm.
those instructions are in our DNA. So like when you said I have these emotional dumps and this, like you don't even necessarily, you don't consciously, and I want to be clear, you do believe some of this stuff if it is in your subconscious mind,
Yes,
but
I
you
do
don't
know that.
consciously want to or practice these beliefs until you have an emotional dump.
Pretty much.
That's intergenerational trauma. Or that's a generational curse. Racism and racist ancestors, that's a generational curse on humanity.
Okay.
The species doesn't do well with that in its lineage. It
Mm.
keeps us like, because if you tell me I don't experience racism and I live racism all the time, we can't get along,
Yeah,
right? Like I can't, you're telling
that's true.
me, you're pissing on my back and telling me it's raining.
Yeah,
And
pretty
then you
much.
want me to call you friend or tell you that it's fair or that I'm not being, and like, so I want to be clear that racism makes it more difficult for Black people to succeed, but not impossible, but exceptionally and expoundingly more difficult. And Black people have the right to be mediocre as well and not be ground up and be turned and vilified or live a
Hmm.
poor life. It is middle, it is the number of mediocre white men I have met of affluence is, one of them was the president.
Yeah,
There was
I,
nothing remarkable about him other than bad remarks as far as his character, his person, the way he treats people, the way he loves on his family or children. Who he is as a person
mhm.
was not who I would want as friend. Nobody felt safe in his presence. Nothing was inspiring about him except for his ability to sway other people.
True. I was not a fan of him. I mean, I'm not, I have to be honest. I'm not a Democrat.
You don't have to
Okay.
be.
Okay.
I'm a Democrat because I'm not a Republican.
well, well, I'm a Republican, but I didn't like Trump. I just like I was actually talking with my mom and both of us we were like he has such a big mouth. If he would just keep it closed or
See,
something.
I'm glad he didn't keep it closed, because if he kept his mouth closed, then those beliefs would
Well,
be
that's
inside
true.
his head and he would just be taking them out on people like me. So I do
That is
not
true.
like, so that's where, so that is the, when we're talking, have conversations like this, it would be hard for me to think of you as a friend when you're saying if he just would stop talking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's kind of like, no, if he's not, I need him to talk about it so we could be like, no, stop doing it. Right? We
Yeah.
need to do it.
Yeah. I love your dog, by the way.
Thank you. And he is so disrespectful to the fact that I'm recording all the time. He does not care. He is like, I belong on the couch with you, mommy, now. Uh, so I wanted just to finish addressing the things that are post.
Okay.
When you say, uh, Not only is the person writing this non-black, but most of the people who've spoken out and supported the fight against racism and white privilege are whites.
Mm-hmm.
If you really take a look into the people rising up, only a handful of them are actual blacks. The majority of them are whites. We need to listen to black voices, ones who actually know that their race, what their race feels is an insult, and what they don't think is insults. I have had black friends, which I'm gonna just let you know, never use that as a defense.
Okay.
I just erase it because that's not a. If I'm telling you that I'm offended by something you said, and you say, "Well, I have black friends and they not offended," I'm gonna say, "Fuck them too."
Okay.
I'm telling you, you hurt my feelings, and that's the thing I want you to address. Not tell me it's okay for you to hurt my feelings.
Okay.
And then, and I'm not, and that and the snappiness that's with it might, like, because I would be, this a hurt moment if I'm expressing
Yeah.
that hey, this hurt my feelings. Did you know that this could be this way? And you defend that, like you say, well, that's not whatever it is, you're defending it by saying that, qualifying to saying somebody else doesn't feel this way. It makes me feel like you don't care about me.
Oh, okay. I see now. Okay.
Right? Because I'm the person in front of you saying this hurt me. And you're saying they said it's okay.
It's pretty much like I have a chronic illness, and it's kind of like when people say, oh, this person said they could do this. Why can't you? Or
and then it's kind of like, well, fuck them too. Right, yeah.
like, oh, yeah, oh, this, oh, a person with your condition, they're doing this and this and this. So you have to do it too. You have to be that way. So it's pretty much like that.
And so what you just dispelled right there is the whole pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I did it so you could do it too. And that's at the root of a lot of people's lack of belief in white privilege, was that they had to go through struggle and rise, so then someone else should be able to go through struggle and rise. Not even giving themselves credit for whatever talent it was that they had that was different, that gave them the ability to rise. Mm-hmm. Everybody, even if white privilege didn't exist, everybody doesn't have the same skill set. Everybody couldn't even do the same thing you just did. Why do you expect them to be able to, like, it was hard as fuck for you. Why should it be hard on other people?
Yeah, definitely.
But when you say, like, if you look at the people who are rising up to speak out, it's because they have educated themselves, most likely, and learned how to be active and learn the things that the history is happening, and like, they're doing some actively because they feel personally like they're using their privilege to dismantle the system of privilege.
Okay. I see now.
So the fact for me as a Black person, what doing anti-racism work when it's just Black people talking to white people feels like is I'm trying to convince you to care about me. And it's not a Black problem. It's actually it was some white people's problem who set up the system. And then there are other white people who have actively worked to keep that system working the way that it does, who are overt racists and in positions of power. And then there are people who don't know better, who just work in the system and do what they were taught is right.
Yeah.
Like, all of those things exist. And I'm sorry, I got triggered. And so I'm lost in my point. And I was trying to come back, but it fell right out my ear.
Well, maybe I can, I do have a question. So, and I'm coming from facts because this is what I've seen. Okay. So I would like and this might actually help you get back on track, because I think this is where you were going. I'm not too sure, but there are some people that I've seen on social media and stuff. They are African American, but they talk differently. They are like against the idea of white privilege. They're against, they're like, oh, So
Candace
I'm one.
twins or those twins.
Thank you. Yes, I wasn't going to say her name, but
Shouldn't have said her name.
I wanted to be gentle coming on to that, but that's the people that I've seen. Those are the only people that I've seen, pretty much. I haven't seen anything else because most of my friends.
Do you seek it though? Do you seek to learn the opinions of those who disagree with you?
No.
Then you wouldn't get
until now, because as I have stated, I mean, you're the only one that saw it from all your viewers, but because I don't think anyone on your viewers list knows me on Facebook. But I have stated, and this is my kind of like my New Year's resolution, is to change my mindset.
Be a good hire an educator.
Yeah. And so that is what I want to do, is I want to change my mindset. And I'm coming because, like I said, I am a Christian. I was raised in the church. That is me, you know, to a T, pretty much. But to me anyway, you know, the scriptures, they state, you know, to renew your mind. And
be formed by the renewing of your mind.
Romans 12:2.
So I like, Jesus is the homie, even though I'm not a Christian.
Okay. All right. That's all you need is to believe in Jesus, believe in God, you know, to me anyway. Others, you might have to, you know, proclaim that you're a Christian. But to me, you know, if you believe in Jesus, if you believe in God.
So let me ask you this. So I have been Christian before. I was raised Christian. So where I don't have a problem with Christianity, I have a problem with things that Christians have done in the name of Christianity. Because I know it's judge not lest ye be judged. That's the
word. Sorry for my big fingers because my phone is sitting like right on my laptop.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me see how I'm going to put this. Google is so interesting.
What about my Bible quote? No, it's not.
1 Corinthians 5:12.
And that says it's time to, what does it say?
Hold on. Let me see. Maybe it's not that one. Let me see. Where is the good version?
I mean,
it says, here it is. What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside?
Who said that?
Let me see. I think it was.
Because that sounds like a contextual statement to me. Like he was like, how I'm gonna judge the people outside the church and I ain't even gonna look at the people inside the church. That's what, to me, that's like, sometimes I be feeling like, and I'm not saying you did this, but there is like, at the application of a specific scripture is not given, like people do not look at it in the context. Like to me, the Bible is a story, it's the plays and stuff. Like you look at it and you see cute characters that are human and have things that they did and ways they felt. And so he was kind of like, well, why would I judge the church? Why would I judge people outside the church if I ain't even gonna hold people inside the church to that standard?
Yeah, so remember that Corinthians is a letter.
From Paul to the Corinthian people, right?
Yeah.
And Paul was judgmental as fuck. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be irreverential. Paul was very judgmental.
He was. And I do not myself really like a lot of what he said. So, like, especially about the women in church and stuff. I'm not too keen on that.
So it's like we take So I feel like Christians take the Bible and then don't look at it as a story about even if it's about a God, right? Like it's a story. The people are not the gods in the story, unless it's except for Jesus. So the people are not the gods. So why, although Jesus said ye are gods, right? Like he was trying to teach everybody metaphysics, but that's a different story.
Yeah, something like that.
So like having had spiritual experiences, Jesus the homie, because I've had experiences and I'm like, oh, this is what he meant. But my lived experiences confirms, and then I'm like, oh, this is how the Bible got it all mixed up. Because Paul was writing to a church from his interpretation of Jesus's teachings, right?
Yeah.
But then people will take his interpretations of Jesus's teachings and make that law and doctrine and dogma. And then now you condemning me to hell, but you doing the very thing that big homie Jesus said don't do.
Well, and see, that's why
he said, worry about yourself.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's why this year for me, I am on a change, because I have looked back and I was like, you know what? I have heard renew your mind, do the renewal of your mind and you'll be transformed and stuff. And I've heard that for years and years and years, but I never see a change.
Did you renew your mind?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I've heard, no, not me myself. I'm saying that I've heard other people say it.
But they're not actively renewing their mind. So they're renewing your mind is what I mean by active authenticity. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the renewing of your mind is making sure you're the chooser of your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And
see that's why when I first posted that and then I reread that whole thing, I was sick. I felt sick. And then I was like, you know what? I need to do something about this, and it wasn't because, I am a people pleaser. But I knew that this was more than just me trying not to have, bad blood with anyone. It was me trying to change for the good.
Well,
and see, I believe that Jesus loves everyone, and no matter what,
Jesus would not have racism.
No.
He would be all the time.
And you always think of what would Jesus do? Well, he wouldn't go, like, I get so mad when I see
Jesus was a protester.
Pretty much he was.
Not pretty much, he was. He protested. People believed. He gathered followers. He organized. Jesus was crucified as a Black man. Pontius Pilate was like, hey, you against the system. You gotta go. He was assassinated. Like,
I had to explain to someone. I'm like, you do know that, Ethiopia and all these other places are in Africa. Hello, Egypt is in Africa and stuff. I'm like, what do you think they were race-wise and stuff?
Well, yeah, we got all these pictures of white Jesus.
Yeah.
It's factually inaccurate.
Have you seen Chosen?
I have not. What's that?
It's a new TV show about Jesus's life, but I think they use not a white Jesus like everyone else does. I can't remember what.
I'll look it up after we get off because now I'm curious.
Yeah, but it is really good.
I'm curious. So Jesus' life was quite curious, like very interesting, and inspirational. But I see him as a person who tapped into the Christ energy.
Mm-hmm.
That every other person has the ability to do so if they do the things that Jesus did, or other spiritual systems teach you to do. Because I do not believe in a monotheistic God.
I do, but
but here's the thing: as you are renewing your mind, feel free to question that and see what happens. I'm not asking you to disagree. I'm not asking you to change that belief. I'm just asking you to question it to make sure that that is your belief and not just something you were taught.
Okay.
I want to address the rest of the things in this just because I want to educate the audience.
Okay.
Because I definitely feel we're past this. I do think too that ancestral veneration, like praying against even in your beliefs against those generational curses, because if it is unconscious bias, that's some lineage programming. And if you are part Cherokee, that 1/8 ancestor got some problems with the rest of them.
Yeah,
You might
definitely.
but that's the instruction that lives in your cellular DNA. So
Yeah.
you should pray for that.
Yeah. Before you get to anything, I remember one thing, and it was so strange to me because when I did my DNA, I found out I was Russian and Polish, but no one told me about that. And I asked my mom about it. I was like, why didn't you tell me I was Russian and Polish? And she's like, well, there's some people out there that don't really like the Russians, especially nowadays, with all this Russian stuff going on and stuff. And so she's like, I didn't want to put the pressure on you and stuff.
It's funny. I knew her answer before you said it because everybody that's white now wasn't always white. They only accepted into being white when white needed to gain more power.
And do you know with the DNA testing, do you know how many people are shocked that like maybe 0.0008% of their DNA is from Africa?
Everybody's from Africa.
but can you believe that everyone is shocked by that?
Yes. So here's the thing. I can believe it in a very condescending way.
Probably.
Like, well, yes, I know belief, but do I think it's a good belief? No. And I don't think you put much thought into that belief.
No.
Right? Like you just decided that you believe this without thinking about why you believe it.
Yeah.
So in the art, the main thing I want to address to make sure I don't let go two things. This your response was also something called white centering.
Okay.
So you're centering white person's experience in a discussion about racism. And then using that white experience to dispel the experience of the person who's actually being oppressed. Because you're like, what about the white kids or other races that grew up around Black kids? And it's kind of like that's the antidote, not the norm, right? That is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. I did have a question for you about that. If we have time.
Okay, we do.
Okay.
I just let me get the next part out and then we'll come back to the question. And you say racism goes both ways in your mind. Prejudice goes both ways. Bias goes both ways. Racism is a systemic thing. There's not enough power in the system. I can discriminate against you and not hire you, but I do not have enough power within the system of society to keep you from getting other jobs from other places.
I see. Okay.
Keep you to lie against you and the other people will believe you and now out and they'll go to jail. Right?
Okay.
Like I can't say nobody's gonna just believe me if I say you did something to me. Because of the unconscious bias.
Okay. I see.
It doesn't go both ways, but discrimination, prejudice, and bias can.
See, I think that's what people are confused about.
It's a semantic. And here's the thing, it's not even really relevant to the solution of the problem. You're just telling me that I'm wrong in my opinion about the problem. It does nothing for us to have a shared and inclusive future. It just keeps us fighting amongst each other.
True. Yes, definitely.
It's kind of like, well, what do we do to make sure everybody has equity?
True.
That's the discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So those are the things that I wanted to address. Let me just make sure. We got the white centering. We got the The white privilege, it is easier for white people to traverse the difficulties of society.
I
Doesn't,
do understand that. Yeah,
it doesn't mean that it is easy. It means it's easier. And
definitely.
only because you don't have to also deal with racism.
On top of it and everything.
Right. You have all the rest of that stuff and some racism too.
That is true. No, I'm, yeah. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
So then your question, you said you have a question.
Yeah, okay, so when I stated about the boys, the kids in, who were raised in the Black communities and stuff. Now, when they do that, when they speak in that way and stuff, is that cultural appropriation?
So if they were raised in a community and that is how they've navigated and traversed their community, no, it's not cultural appropriation. That's who they are. The cultural appropriation would be then, though, if they were.
I've always been confused about cultural appropriation and stuff.
So Kim Kardashian no, here's a better example. Miley Cyrus tried to take credit for inventing twerking.
I actually do not remember that.
But what she did was she had like twerk written, and people were talking about her for twerking because of how ill-equipped her body was for twerking.
Oh, okay. Because I do remember that part, yes.
But then for her, she said, well, I invented, she took that to mean that she invented twerking because people was talking about her and they were not giving her compliments.
Okay.
Right? Like, it was an appropriation to say, I gave light to, no, Black people been twerking like that. We the ones with the booties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're the ones who well, not me, but other Black people. I've been working out. It's rounder than it used to be, but it is definitely not a donk. But I can twerk it now though. But the twerking it's a culturally Black thing. Things that are villainized. So like I couldn't before. I mean, right now it's still legislated. It would have been trouble for me to have my locks at work, or
I have seen where kids get in trouble for having dreadlocks at the schools and stuff. It's crazy.
Calling them dreadlocks. They're nothing dreadful about them.
What are they called again?
Just locks. Your hair
just locks
up and is locked within itself.
Okay.
But yes, I can't wear my hair the way it grows out of my head.
Okay.
But then Kim Kardashian get her hair in cornrows, which is also historically a Black protective style. And she's seen as edgy and, and then can use it to make her part of her image. That's cultural appropriation. That you're not, this isn't your culture, but because you're a person of influence and then you're capitalizing on a culture that's not yours, and I would be vilified for it.
Okay. So what about, so now I asked this from someone else who had commented on that post, and I asked her, I am a missionary, or I was a missionary, or whatever. So my executive director is actually Indian himself. He himself is Indian. He comes from that culture. He's actually from Fiji.
Asian Indian? Okay, Fiji. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and he has Asian. He has family in India too. So he was the one that told us to dress that way. He was the one that said, "Oh yeah, it's okay to dress in the Indian dress and stuff," which I actually haven't worn for a long time. I only wore it to certain things. I didn't wear it all the time. I didn't wear it, constantly. I just wore it for like going to the temple or going to
appreciating is different than appropriating. If you were to take it on as your culture and then begin to sell and make money or something up, if he's saying, hey, do this so like I was invited to an Eid celebration a
Okay.
member of that family had given me a sari. I
Uh-huh.
wore the sari to the Eid celebration. I wore it to appreciate their culture, not to say that I'm Bengali,
Okay, I see now.
or not
Okay.
to
So
make
there,
myself cool with Bengali people, and I didn't then go on a henna spree and wear nothing and, have my whole and become known for this uh, Bollywood aesthetic.
yeah.
Right. Like, so it's the
Yeah.
how hard you go with it. Appreciating other cultures is make sure you're doing it from a place of appreciation too. So like if you're not native or
Mhm.
indigenous and you're wearing indigenous dress as a Halloween costume, but it's
That's
the
totally
religious
different.
ceremonies, right? Like if the garb is for their religious practices and you're making a
Yeah.
joke out of it, that is appropriation and rude.
Yeah. It's so
Rude
like,
to do it.
so yeah, so it's one thing of using it for like you said, a Halloween costume, but like for wearing it for like a wedding or going someplace like a temple or something because
A wedding of a person to that culture, yes.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, don't wear it to your cousin who's not
Oh no.
of that culture
No.
wedding. No,
No. They would look at me weird, like, what are you wearing?
that would be appropriation at that point.
Yes.
Like, why are you're not, this isn't yours.
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah,
it in
definitely.
honor is the difference. Are you
Okay.
honoring the original culture?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And see, like, we did go over during our YWAM phase, we did actually go to South Africa and Mozambique. We went over there for 2 months. And it was actually, and we made the soup and stuff. And actually, while we were over there, it was really cool because we went to this one place where the ministry that we were working with, they were teaching the women how to grow food for themselves because it was mostly the women that were working. It wasn't the men.
So I like that if that is what they wanted. My Brazil, so where I have a problem, oh no,
Whoops.
where,
Sorry.
we keep coming to the problem is that it is the judgment that what they do already, like is like that you show up with your intention as a Christian,
Yeah.
that what another person's belief is wrong, so much so you willing to convince them.
Yeah. But actually, we didn't do that.
I'm not,
Actually,
I'm not
I
saying
know.
y'all
Yeah.
specifically, the missionary mentality to
Oh,
me
yes.
is what I'm
Yeah.
speaking.
Like overall.
Right. Like
Overall.
you show, and then so when because you asked me about Candace Owens and I didn't answer. I spent it, I had to think of my answer. So
Yeah.
it's the same missionary mentality. I feel like she has internalized oppression and internalized beliefs. Um, I do not feel like she does enough. So she doesn't take into the account historical effects and she just uses talking points. And I do feel like she's very self-serving because she has also, even though she claims that there's no racism, she has had a racism discrimination lawsuit.
I see.
So I think she's a very opportunistic person and she has dug her heels into this set of values and convinced herself of this. But I don't think that she's ever actually, like, I think her renewing of her mind was with the
other direction.
opportunistic intention. So I
Okay.
think she has convinced herself of her beliefs. But
Okay, I
I
see.
don't think it was an intentional soul searching. Let me make sure that I go in from a loving place to see what I believe. Now,
Yeah.
with missionary work in general, it feels very, I do not care. The populations that you're going to tell about Jesus often need something from you.
True. Yeah.
So that is called, so like to me, that's pimping because that's what pimps do. They take, like, so a woman who's destitute or who has discord at home, they fill them up with love and adoration, sell them their dreams, and then they get them separate from their families and then they take it away slowly.
Hmm.
So how I equate that is I'm hungry, I'm destitute, or I'm at a place where I need the food you're giving me, or I need to learn how. So yes, it's upper mobility that I can grow food and all that, but you're here to save me, which means you're inherently telling me something's wrong with me, not I've been done wrong by things.
Hmm.
And
You know,
and then you're convinced, and then you do enough work, but then because I know love from you, which is you solve my starvation, you've empowered me to take care of myself. Well, let me see what you're talking about. And so then that is it's the slow walk into Christianity, which is manipulation and coercion, if you're using my survival needs for it.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, that is actually because, okay, so, we in the Christian community, we always, we know that there's people against missionary work and stuff. Not really like against it, but they don't like what happens within it.
Does not give people their free will. It is.
Yeah, and so hearing how you described it, that is very thought-provoking. I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it that way. So you actually have opened up probably a new door. I'm not too sure, but
just look. Your free will is yours in my spiritual practice and belief. So I'm not trying to convince you of nothing, but I do want you to look inside and see.
No, I am. But let me. I know this sounds really cliche and stuff, but let me pray about it.
It's not cliche. So I practice actively in my spiritual beliefs, and so Christians who believe it's a relationship. Mm-hmm. And they actively work in their relationship, I feel safer around because I trust spirit. Mm-hmm. It's the peace.
And see, that is why I'm here. That's why I'm here, because I was like, you know what? I feel peace about this. I feel peace about talking to you. I don't feel like you're going to manipulate me. I don't feel like you're going to treat me bad or anything. See, my husband, he's totally different, but he sees it on the other side. He sees like when he thought
protective of you. He should be. Yes, he cares about you, and he wants to love
me.
And everybody who talks about this, some people aren't where I am in my anger processing.
Yeah.
So like some people might come and they get triggered and then their anger takes over. I do a lot of work on my own emotional regulation. Mm-hmm. And we've talked, the missionary stuff has, with him, I would suggest, if you were in my course, we have techniques that, suspending the mental activity of judgment, appealing to higher values. There are things you can do to disarm some of he's feeling afraid of a change of life. Like he's feeling like his values are attacked.
Definitely, yes.
And so people have resistance to those things. People have like, wait a minute. And then
I felt so sorry for him when I came to him about this.
He's probably feeling like, I don't know if she loves me the same. Is she judging me? There's a lot that goes into these kind of identity, which is why people don't be wanting to look.
Well, and see, he's not only a missionary, but he's also certified with, I don't know if you've heard of him, Assemblies of God. Mm-mm. Assemblies of God is one of the biggest organizations for Christianity. So, I mean, you'll find like Assemblies of God churches all over.
Okay.
And so like First Assembly is Assemblies of God. So
okay.
Yeah. So he is certified with it. I felt so sorry for him because when I came to him about this video, he's like, remember, I'm a pastor. Remember.
So I think so I would want to ask him how that, what made him feel like challenged around that.
Yeah. I mean, because actually, and I I showed it to him. Actually, I might send it to you so you can see. But our pastor actually, because actually my husband himself, just himself, it doesn't come from anything else, but himself is against social media, period. He hates social media. And he has stated that if he was not a missionary, he would be off of all social media. Facebook, Twitter, everything. He would be off of it.
I had those views until I had to assimilate for the world, because the world did it.
Yeah. Well, and he's seen so many things like our says.
Even God renewed his mind.
I guess you could. No, I guess I don't know. I would have to look into that
because before Jesus came, there was no need for Jesus to get to God. But then God was like, "All right, Jews, this is."
Well,
hold on. I'm just saying. Let me give you my interpretations and bring a little humor because I know I'm butchering it, right? So let me butcher it instead of you. So then God was like, "All right, Jews, y'all ain't got it right. Let me change my approach. Let me send you Jesus." And then this will be the way, because the way we was doing it before wasn't working. So I needed to renew my mind and my approach because y'all wasn't choosing me right.
Yeah. Well, it is very confusing because remember you have the Trinity, because I come from the type, I come from the denomination that believes in the Trinity. So the Trinity is 3 in 1. So you have God the Father, God the Son, which is Jesus, and God the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the one. Huh?
Where's God the woman?
Well, they say that God the Father is God the Father and God the Mother.
So Father is genderless?
Somewhere in there. I don't really know what is going on these days.
So God the Father's non-binary?
I don't know. I will. Have you ever read The Shack?
I heard of it, but no, I haven't read it.
Okay, you need to read it.
Didn't they make a movie out of it too?
I believe so. I never watched the movie. I read the book. Reading the book is much different than watching a movie.
Always better than watching a movie. Always.
Yes. So I would recommend that book if you're really interested, because it does talk about God being a woman.
And so does the Gnostic Bible.
Yeah. So it's really confusing. People are really confused.
Yes, because that's where Christianity confuses me, because it also has all these veins to other things that work in with it truthfully and also out of it truthfully. And yet this is the way instead of a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like the only way, because all these other people find their religious beliefs, they get their spiritual relationships from other ways. It's just a way.
Yeah. And so what I say is, I believe whatever I get from Jesus, whatever I hear, like when I'm praying, I literally hear him talking to me. It sounds weird, but that's what happens. And so, I mean, I do go to scriptures. I do go to the scriptures, but I don't really, it's bad to say it, but I don't really rely on them. I rely on what I hear from God himself, from Jesus himself.
I would rather everyone have a living relationship than a book as doctrine. That's me advocating. I would rather that be the case, because trust your internal guidance, develop your relationship, and then you'll know what your purpose is.
Now, see, that is my reason for being a missionary. That's what I want. That's what I want to do, is because, okay, take the Sikhs, for example. Their God is a book. I don't know if you knew that, but their God, their God is a book. You know, how am I going to? Okay, so in the temple, there's one side for women, one side for men. they're segregated. Okay. In the middle is a kind of like an altar with water around it. On top of the altar is the book. And it is said that they actually had disciples themselves, kind of like what we had. They had
The religious stories have a lot of the same players.
Yeah, like you hear about, I think it's in Buddhism even, that you hear about a great flood. You hear
I don't know for certain, like I can't, but
but the great flood is in other religions.
oh, you don't even, so let me tell you something. The Bible story of Moses parting the Red Sea, I know you're talking about Noah, but Moses parting the Red Sea, it got proved possible to me when we had the 2 big hurricanes a couple years ago. Although now saying that is like more big hurricane, but at one point there was a place where the ocean was in the sky. Like it was fish flopping on the sand. Where
was
like,
that in the news?
Yeah.
Was that in the? Yeah, I think I remember that now. Yeah.
It was all the water was drawn up into the storm,
Yes.
and so then that made me put myself like, so I saw the Bible story in context, right? And so I said, all right, so if I'm Pharaoh's soldier, so here's the thing, me having my relationship, I could say, all right, how does Moses make Moses decisions? I understand them burning bush moments. So Moses only listened to what God tell him, and he came down with them commandment tablets because God told, like, hey, y'all, I was meditating up on the rock like I be doing. Y'all know the downloads come true. I got these downloads, right? But then even the thing that said to him, let my people go. As a person who has experienced miracles from like listening to my downloads, my relationship with spirit, I understand walking up, God being like, hey, go put your staff up there. And him being like, what? I ain't put my staff up. How is that even? Listen, and then God be like, I told you to go put your staff up there. Do you trust me or don't you trust me? So then Moses would be like, all right, I'm gonna put the staff up there, right? Boom.
No matter how weird it looks.
No matter, right? I'm gonna do the weird thing. Put it out there. Because that to me, doing the weird thing is the spiritual life. So you do the weird thing, you put the staff, oh, bam, it turns you, oh man, God, why you ain't tell me that was gonna happen before? Because it's your faith. You got to work on your faith, Moses. So then Moses do all these practices, and Pharaoh be like, nah, I ain't like, so what, my son died and you told me he was gonna die. I'm still about to stand in my pride, damn it. You know, fine, then I'm gonna die on this hill. He say, I'm gonna let you go. He send him in the trap, right? Because at this point, his ego, he realizes like, I ain't got nothing else to lose. I done brought myself to here. I might as well lose myself, right?
Yep.
What's the point?
Pretty much.
Now. But now I'm a soldier. So like Moses like, all right, y'all, I done got the download. We got to go at this time in this moment. And we go, it'll be fine. So it was a big ass storm. And then the ocean went to the sky, just like it just did a couple years ago. And they walked through. So then now I put my mind in the soldiers running up. I'm chasing y'all. I'm like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. The ocean was right there. I looked, it was right there. I'm not going. I don't care what you say. Y'all leading on that faith. Y'all stupid. I done seen the ocean was there yesterday. It's gonna fall. I'm not going. But then, so I wait. I was running and then I wait. But I'm like, wait a minute, they halfway through now. But wait a minute, if they gonna get through, Pharaoh is gonna fire me or have my head. Oh shit. How I'm gonna take care of my family if I lose my job? And so then they decide to run through, but the hesitation is what caused them not to get through before the sky decided to drop the ocean.
Yep.
That's my drunken Bible history, even though I'm not.
Hey, that was pretty good, actually. You kept me on the edge of my seat right there.
but it's my own relationship with spirit that made that be possible. Like it made me have, but it strengthened. So I don't have a problem with the Bible being used as a tool, for example, to strengthen your relationship.
Yeah. Well, and see, not only that, but there are parts of the Bible that have been that have been found to be true, like I think it was, I don't know if, I can't remember if they found Noah's Ark or not. I can't remember if that was found or not. There has been many different places that they've been looking, but there was like another place that they found that is in the Bible that actually they found stuff that actually happened in the Bible and stuff. And it's like crazy to see that. And it makes it more real to me anyway.
My biggest disagreement with Christians having the monotheistic view is that it leaves God in the Bible in the past. It leaves the thing there, and you praying for it. It's not this active current. Like, so if Jesus were still present as a being, he would still be doing the things that made him be able to be that kind of being. He would still be channeling that God energy. He would still be developing his relationship. He would still be fasting and praying and doing things consistently to embody denial practice. He would still be doing all of those things that Christians don't do.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, like, it is and I hate to say it this way, but it feels like a dead religion instead of a live religion.
I guess you could say that because, I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of dead churches. Like, they aren't alive. And I've been in many of them. So
they deny oppression, systemic oppression, or they advocate for systemic oppression. They are firmly a dead church.
Yeah.
Jesus isn't the God that they follow.
No, not because if you think, if you know your Bible, in the New Testament, we're to we're to not do what the 10 Commandments say, don't lie, don't steal. Yeah, we're not supposed to do that. But there are two other ones that they say. There's the golden rule, which is to love your neighbor as yourself.
That's the problem. I feel Christians don't love themselves because they choosing a God that didn't choose them. But that was my little zinger. But we do. I think we should wrap at this day because I can go on. I don't want to become a Christian basher because people who are in relationship with their spiritual practices, I'm all for that. I don't agree with missionary work and missionary impact. I do agree that if you believe something you have done the internal work, like you renewed your mind to make sure those your beliefs and you out here advocating for it, that's what I'm doing. I respect it, even if I don't agree. And so thank you for coming and being on the comfy couch. Thank you for proving that these conversations don't have to be so hard. Thank you.
Also not so violent either. I've seen so much violence when it comes to like what people believe and everything. Like people shooting other people over what they believe and stuff. It's crazy.
I want to thank you for bringing that up because the thing that keeps that down that we both did is there is a validation of the feeling, even though there may not be agreement with it.
Yes. Yes.
So if y'all viewers don't take nothing from the show, but this, validate. Well, first of all, feelings don't need validation. They exist, they valid.
Yeah.
If validation is irrelevant to having a feeling, right? You have a feeling that you think is valid or not. To me, having to validate your feelings is you are not fully aware of all your feelings if you have to have them validated. You feel, therefore you feel. It exists.
Yes.
But when you go into a conversation having created a safe space and you honor the fact that it's human to human, you can come to resolution. And frankly, you can come to agreement on things that you may have disagreed with before. Like I did not have a respect for the process. And I want to be very clear, I have a respect for the process of being a missionary. I do not have respect for the history.
There you go.
I have extreme disrespect for the history, but I have a respect for the process. And I do not think that every person who identifies as a missionary is their history. I do think they should stop doing it though. I'm allowed to think that.
Or maybe reconstruct it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Reconstruct it and retitle it.
Yes, there we go. Because just like Christianity, it's gotten a bad rap for many different reasons and stuff. So
They got a third bad rap from the humans.
Definitely.
But that's why that relationship and the inner work on who you are as a human is paramount, because these decisions do have impact. They are not light.
And if you want, people are saying we need unity. But if you're screaming at each other, that's not unity.
We need unity, but we also need accountability. And this country has to, it will be very difficult for actual unity to exist that does not include contempt and resentment inside those who have been marginalized and oppressed, without acknowledgement and atonement for that, of the generational impacts of that. Mm-hmm. Because those decisions had impacts, and people want to, it's like saying, oh, I was punching you in the face and I stopped punching you in the face, go be normal.
Yeah.
My face is fucked up. How am I gonna go be normal? Yeah.
And you didn't take, and whoever did that to you didn't take accountability. They didn't
give me a Band-Aid, no ointment, an ice pack, nothing.
No.
Just told me it was fine. And didn't want me to stop being mad at them for having punched me in the face. Not only do you not help me heal, you demand that I don't be mad at you for punching me in the face, and I can't even have no trauma where anybody that look like you who punched me in the face, I'm afraid of them too. I don't get to have that. Yeah. I just gotta let you be good because you decided to be good one day. And you really didn't decide to be good. You just decided to stop being abusive.
Yes.
There's a different decision.
There is a difference. Yes. We talked about some really tough stuff there, but I think we did pretty good. That is the value and the beauty of it. And that is why we have these discussions. So thank you, Jacquelin, for coming on the comfy couch. You're welcome.
Let's say bye to the people.
Bye-bye.
For the third or fourth time, because this discussion will keep going on and on.
I know.